Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, distinguished guests, and folks of all stripes, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports program. It's a program. Oh boy, I don't even know the name of it today. The Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Salazar Jr. Thanks so much for being here. Stumbling right out of the gate, kind of like the Houston Astros, but don't worry, I'm going to pick it up. We're going to get back to 500 here, folks. This is your podcast if you're a Houston Astros diehard fan. Welcome back, returning listeners. If you're a new listener, this is a podcast for you, the diehard Houston Astros fan. I know for me, a lot of times the media coverage of the Astros can be very negative. You know, a lot of the national media is just waiting for this team to fail. So it's hard to see a lot of media coverage through that negative lens, so I'm trying to do it through a more positive lens, through a more Houston Astros fans lens. I am definitely a diehard optimistic fan myself. I am not a doomer fan, so this is kind of your podcast where if you get all riled up by all the hot takes out there, you can come here for a nice cool take, a mild, a lukewarm take, a little bit of reason, or, perhaps a little bit of delusion if that's what you need as a Houston Astros fan. We could provide that for you here. Welcome back. I'm your host, Paul Salazar Jr. I am a comedy writer, a improviser, proud dog dad, multi-hyphenate, silly person, Houston native that lives out here in Los Angeles. We're coming to you in studio here from LA, and a nice hot LA day here. I'm with my co-host and producer, Carla the dog. She's here with me today, laying down in front of the fan, soaking up that cool flooring there. She might get on mic at some point. Sometimes she has an opinion, and I'm an ally. I do not silence female voices. So if she has something to say, we kind of let her say it on this podcast. Heads up, there could be some doggy barking at some point. But welcome, folks. Let's go ahead and get to the podcast today. For those of you who listened yesterday, we're very much more positive here in Astros podcast land after the Astros swept the Orioles. It's definitely what the doctor ordered here, what I was calling for on the podcast. Well, I can't say I was calling for it. I wasn't demanding the Astros win a series. That's kind of not that's not the energy that I bring most of the time. But yeah, I was hopeful and optimistic that the Astros would really close the gap on the Mariners, maintain the lead over the team from Arlington, and get closer to 500. The Astros are now 2 games under 500, and it doesn't seem like something that I would want to celebrate, but I am celebrating it. That's just the kind of season the Astros have had. So as an Astros fan, you're happy to see them close that gap, baby. You're very happy to see it here. Today we are gonna kind of yesterday it was more of a traditional podcast where I kind of went over the Orioles series. I kind of recapped that a bit and then looked forward to the Colorado series with a brief series preview. If you kind of want that recap and preview, you can check out the previous episode of the podcast. This one we're going to try to talk about a little bit of the media coverage about the Astros here, a little bit of reactionary takes to that, or to just talk about them. So we are going to talk about the Dana Brown interview on the MLB Network. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the injuries the Houston Astros have sustained and maintained this season. And then finally, we're going to end it with some Astros plate discipline talk. There's been a lot of talks of the Astros approach at the plate. So that's kind of what's on the docket for you today, folks. So yeah, like I was saying, if you want more of the series preview for the Astros today, playing the Colorado Rockies, or you want to kind of recap that series against the Orioles, you can definitely check that other podcast out after this or before. Come back to it. You're already a minute in. I've already got a listen at least. Something going for me there. So you do what you like. But yeah, if you would like to check out the podcast or the blog, you can go to spacecadetsports.substack.com. You get every meme, every article, every podcast and video podcast there at the blog for free. You just put in your email into that input field, and you get every single post emailed directly to your email box. Or if you're like me, you're more of a phone guy, you like apps, I have the app. You can download the app and subscribe to me. Get all of the blogs, all of the memes as a notification. Pops up on your phone. You don't have to deal with the email. You don't get both. You can click a button where you just get the notifications. You bypass all the emails. You just get those notifications on your phone. You go through the app and you have your own Space Cadet Sports app, if you will. But it's through the Substack app, so you can subscribe to so many other people and so many other voices out there. So you can go check that out if you would like, folks. But for today, we're going to go ahead and start off this podcast here by talking about the Dana Brown interview. While I think you do have to kind of keep some things close to the chest when you are doing sports interviews, and you have to kind of be careful with your words. I also don't want, for this organization to just kind of be like Bill Belichick, where it's just kind of stiff-arming the media, and it seems like every answer is kind of angry. I kind of like that, kind of folksism that Dusty Baker brought to the team. He could be a little, tough to understand or tough to read at times, but he at least was folksy and kind of fun and charming. I do appreciate that Dana Brown does these interviews. I think he does not give too much away. He does boost the team and support them, but he is honest about things. So it was nice to see Dana Brown do this interview. The interviewer definitely was asking, talking about, the previous interviews Dana Brown has done with the MLB Network. If you think about it, the Astros have not been in too many good places this season. For those of you who have been following the Astros every game and every season like I have, I watch every game. I read almost every article of the about the Astros, and I do it for you. I do it, and I kind of bring it to your feet and kind of process all the information and tell you what is the most interesting things to me. So if you've been watching them all season, you've known that they haven't until recently been 4 games, even 4 games close to 500. Yeah, 4 games under 500. That has been a marker that the Astros have not reached yet. But once this season. So, the fact that Dana Brown has been doing these interviews, this team has been pretty tough to defend. I know that because I'm doing this podcast where I'm talking about my love for them and defending in a way, almost defending the Astros against crazy hot takes. So it's like, yeah, it has been a tough team to defend and to support at times. And he is the guy making the decisions. He's arguably the responsible party for this team's makeup, and to see him go on national media and kind of defend the team and stand there for him, I think is really big and really important. You love to see it, and he's saying that this team is hitting on all cylinders here, and I agree. They're finally hitting on all cylinders, and that's kind of been the Astros' struggle up until this point. For those of you who have been following the blog here, Space Cadet Sports, you know that I have mentioned that the Astros, to me, this season have felt like my first car, a truck that just never really was running completely. There was always a little something wrong with it. Even when you fix that, another problem would pop up. The Astros are finally getting that in the rearview mirror, to get another car metaphor going here. We're going to get all the metaphors. Don't worry. We'll even throw in some similes. Why not? We definitely are happy as Astros fans that it looks like they're finally turning that page. Another metaphor that the Astros managers and Dana Brown, everybody talking to the media, and it's time to turn the page. They're finally looking like they have turned that page, and they are finding some consistency, and it's great. That Dana Brown is acknowledging it and seeing it and acknowledging the struggles and the fact that the Astros have just kind of had some trouble with consistency, getting results from every part of the team to pick up wins. When you look at the stats, a lot of the stats can be very, it seems like the team should not have as many losses as they have when you look at their stats, especially their hitting stats, which is something that I know I've talked about ad nauseum here on the podcast. They're such a good hitting team, and this month, at least since late May, they've been a pretty solid to great pitching team. So, it's just been these kind of ugly moments that have ruined the Astros in these games when something just falls apart or unravels. So, it was good to see Dana Brown talk about that. And he's also, I feel like, echoing some of the statements, or perhaps I'm the one echoing his statements. He's saying that, quote, once you get back to 500, game's on. And, the Astros are 2 games away from 500, and they have the Colorado Rockies, one of the worst teams in baseball, sitting in front of them. Just almost like a nice little gift there for the Astros. What the Astros can do with that, that's going to, that remains to be seen. The team cannot, start getting all excited about themselves and not show up to play against the Rockies. This team is still a Major League Baseball team. Fans cannot just expect the Astros to sweep them because that's what they want. The Astros will have to go out there with a good game plan and execute. I do feel confident about the Astros. I even think that this is a high possibility for them to sweep them. I'm just saying, realistically, we have to temper our expectations, and also know that these guys will have to go out there and execute against professional baseball players. Respect to the Rockies, even if they are, quote unquote, one of the worst teams in baseball, they still are professional players. So, it's not just a gimme game. So it's good to see that Dana Brown is optimistic about this team. It's good to see that he is ready for them to get past 500, to get to 500. I really do think, it's one of those things that just you see in professional sports a lot. Once a team kind of gets to that 500 mark, they start really, it's almost like the pressure is off a little bit more once you consider yourself a winning squad, whether that's from the players or for the fans' perspective. Things just go down a little easier. Losses don't seem to hurt as much when you are above 500. At least in the beginning and the middle of the season. As the season goes on, we're hoping that once you get to 500, that just isn't it. You want to gain that ground. So, I really do think that the Astros have the competitive nature, and they have the skills and the roster to be able to make noise if they are able to string some wins together and to get some more momentum going here with what they have already achieved. Also in this Dana Brown interview, we're kind of end up talking just kind of my opinions on what his opinions are a bit here. I guess that's what a reaction is. But the interviewer asked Dana Brown about Kyle Tucker, and I thought this was something that I was really looking for. Kyle Tucker has been out for quite some time since he has a contusion on his shin, fouling a ball off of his shin. He went down pretty hard. It was kind of tough to see in that game. Kyle Tucker has been amazing this season. He has been just knocking in home runs, really the heart of the team offensively. He's been great for this team, and then to see him go down with an injury, quite at the time when the Astros were finally starting to gain some momentum, you really thought it could have been a nail in the coffin for this team. Luckily, the Astros have been playing well without Kyle Tucker, but you can't, if you have an option of having, this team or having this team with Kyle Tucker, you definitely would choose this team with Kyle Tucker. I don't think any team would be like, What stacked outfield would be like, we don't need Kyle Tucker. We need Kyle Tucker back. We need his production. So, they asked Dana Brown what that time frame for Kyle Tucker returning might be, and he was a little evasive, which I think is pretty standard. I think, you don't want, it's kind of hard to put injury news out there unless you're making an official statement, because fans will want to see that timeline or will hold you to that answer. I think being evasive in this instance, a lot of people are very critical of how people do interviews and press, and I think that's not really fair, because most people have never had to do press or do interviews like that. Sometimes, when your job is on the line and when you're trying to protect an organization, you can be a little evasive, and that's fine. I don't think that's anything wrong with Dana Brown being evasive here. But I do think that he was. He's saying that he's hoping for less than 3 weeks for Tucker, essentially. Not exactly being the quote there, but pretty close if it isn't word for word, saying that he's hoping for less than 3 weeks for Tucker, but obviously 10 days would make him happy. But he really didn't. I mean, saying, anywhere from 10 days to 3 weeks, that's kind of a long stint on the IL, considering that he started it at the beginning of the month here. But we will see. I think the fact that Kyle Tucker hasn't started baseball activities and is not good, it does look like he will need a minor league rehab start. So Kyle Tucker's return to the Astros is going to be a little bit slower than I think we originally anticipated. Perhaps he didn't fracture that bone, but he really got that contusion is really bad. So we are hoping that Kyle Tucker comes back sooner than later, but it will just have to depend on how quickly that shin can heal. And there's no exact time frame. There's no timeline on it. It's just when he heals. So we will have to be patient, and we will have to be patient with the Astros struggling. They're not, soothsayers. I don't know, soothsayers. They're not, they're not able to predict the future. This is a type of injury that's going to be healed up when it heals up. I think that's just the kind of thing that it is. After that, the interviewer was talking to Dana Brown about Joey Loperfido. Joey Loperfido is back with the team. I think a lot of Astros fans have been very frustrated by the fact that Joey Loperfido hasn't been playing too much this season, with the fact that Jose Abreu had been abysmal at first base, and with the Chas McCormick injury, with the Kyle Tucker injury, there has been some spots opening up in the outfield for the Astros since this season, and it seems like the Astros have been very hesitant to put Joey Loperfido into positions to play some baseball for them, whether it's not calling him up, not calling him up, or by what would be a Dana Brown move, or not starting him, which would be a Joe Espada move. I do think that that fans do have a little bit of a right to be frustrated when they want to see a prospect, but I do think that putting, sometimes I'm always more of the cautious type person when it comes to bringing up the prospects. I feel like you want to have them in the best of a situation that you can have them in, unless they're just, an undeniable prospect. You kind of want to put them in a good spot. You kind of want to put them in a place to succeed. You don't want it to just always be completely about what what's it's not a video game. You do want to try to help them to succeed, and that's not to say that you handhold them and they don't call them up unless the situation is completely perfect for them. I'm just saying it, the Astros were exercising some caution, and I was okay with that, because of two main things with Joey Loperfido. It's not that I don't like Joey Loperfido or I don't want to see him coming up. I just think that Joey Loperfido, at the time, he was mostly being seen as a call-up for a lot of Astros fans, at least in their criticism, of being a first-base substitution. And for whatever reason, the Astros are hesitant to put him at first base in a major league level. The Astros are pretty conservative when it comes to who they're fielding at first base. They have people on the team that are able to play first base that aren't getting reps there, with Yainer Diaz and Victor Caratini, with Dubon and Singleton being the only people playing first base right now. I do think that whether it is Joey Loperfido doesn't have the footwork for first base, or doesn't have the confidence, or doesn't like it, there's some reason why Joey Loperfido is not getting reps at first base. So that's going to be one of the reasons they weren't calling him up. He just wasn't. The outfield is pretty log jammed, and we'll get to that in a second. And then, so the other reason is his high strikeout rate. Joey Loperfido strikes out a crazy amount. The Astros have trouble with pitches per plate appearance. I don't know, the same people that are complaining about Joey Loperfido not being called up are the same people that are losing their minds about pitches per plate appearance and the Astros not doing good with that metric. Well, Joey Loperfido is a free swinger. He's a guy that swings constantly outside of the zone. He strikes out at a high rate. If you call up a player with the batting profile of Joey Loperfido, your team is going to strike out more, and your team is going to see less pitches, and that is not a winning thing a key to winning for the Astros, especially the way that they have been playing this season. Adding Joey Loperfido to the mix for a team that has trending upward with strikeout percentage and is trending down with pitches per plate appearance. You don't bring in a guy like Joey Gallo. You don't bring in a high strikeout guy. At least Joey Gallo can work a walk a little bit better. Joey Loperfido needs to learn how to work a walk a little bit better. I think that's part of what we want to see from him. So I'm not saying that he can't do it. I'm just saying that is one of the main reasons why the organization was hesitant to. They had to bring him up because now, with losing, with so many outfield injuries and with losing a first baseman, you really need some power. You really need some slugging. I thought that they were going to call Loperfido up in the summer. So it's not that I was against it. I just thought that his path to success was, I think they wanted Joey Loperfido to be a rookie next year and be even potential rookie of the year consideration, that kind of a pathway. That bringing him up this season was perhaps a little premature. They wanted Trey Cabbage to kind of play that outfield first base role this season, and that's why they traded for him. So Trey Cabbage, he is 27. He's played 23 games for the Astros this season. He's picked up 11 hits with 12 strikeouts, with a 279 batting average and a 714 OPS, with his OPS plus being 102. So he's not been the worst guy, and he's giving you similar production, I think, to what you can get from Loperfido. He also has a home run this season. It's like I think, and I'm not saying I would prefer Cabbage over Loperfido. That is not what this is. I just think that with the organization kind of looking at their options, they were thinking, Loperfido could be more of a long-term solution, and Trey Cabbage is more of a short-term solution for this team. Obviously, their hand kind of had been pushed with Abreu not working out, with needing to call up an outfielder with Tucker being gone, and Loperfido now has an opportunity to really make some noise on this team, and I think he's going to seize that opportunity. Dana Brown said that he brings a lot of energy to the table. I do think that Loperfido is a good player. I think he's going to seize this opportunity and really do a good job. I'm not against Loperfido. I'm just against the whole narrative of fans saying that, if we had this prospect playing, if we had Yainer Diaz, if we had Loperfido, then we would be a World Series team. Sometimes you develop prospects and you make sure they're ready before you put them in a position where their defense or their strikeouts could really cost the team wins. I do think having Loperfido in the outfield is where he's going to shine and where he's going to excel. He is a natural outfielder. He's going to get some web gems out there. I think if Loperfido has an opportunity to really become play more of the outfield, he's really going to see his stock rise. And then in the interview, they actually talked to Dana Brown about Jose Abreu, which I think was great. And Dana Brown really didn't mince too many words. He did say really nice things about Abreu. He said the decision was difficult. He said that Abreu was a great human being. He said that they tried a few things, and he did everything that we asked him to do. But he thought it was over for him. He basically said that he thought that Abreu's career was over, and sometimes when a career is over, you just kind of have to call it. And but then he also said he respects if Abreu is going to try somewhere else. So without mincing, without being too mean, he didn't mince words and just was like, I thought Jose Abreu's career was over. And you have to remember that Dana Brown was hired as a GM after the Astros signed Jose Abreu. So this was an arranged marriage for Dana Brown. So, it's not that there was too much lost love. He just appreciates him professionally. He doesn't want to be mean. But Dana Brown's basically being like, that guy was cooked. Which is sad. I did have a lot of hope for Jose Abreu. I do think that he worked on his swing to get some stuff. He hit those 2 home runs after West Palm Beach, so he did have some pop in his bat still, but he just didn't have the batting average. He was not able to get balls in play enough at a clip that he seemed like he was going to be able to be beneficial to the Astros moving forward. Defensively, he had definitely taken a step back. So, it was the right thing. I just thought it was like, damn, Dana Brown. Why you did not mince any words there. He said that guy was cooked on MLB Network. After Dana Brown said Jose Abreu was cooked, they then talked about the rotation, and the interviewer asked Dana Brown a blunt question: do you have enough? To which Dana Brown responded, we have enough. So everybody out there that's saying that has been critical of Dana Brown and his starting pitching rotation and the decisions this season, who have said that he should have signed Blake Snell, to which I just point, I've been saying since the beginning, I think Blake Snell was overvalued. I agree with the Astros. I do think that it was a better decision to get Hader over Snell. Snell had an overvalued contract and or was asking for way too much money, and then Snell had some injury concerns. I'm not saying that I knew that was going to happen. I'm just saying that you point to that, you look at all the injuries, you look at the fact that an older pitcher or more veteran pitcher can, be more susceptible to injury. Perhaps Dana Brown was right not to go after starting pitchers if those starting pitchers available weren't exactly worth the cap space that their contract would require. And Dana Brown is confident in the pitchers that the Astros have. He says we have enough. He says that they have 7 guys on the IL. He also said, quote, thank God I put Blanco in the rotation last spring. Yes, Dana. Yes, thank God you put Ronel Blanco in the rotation last spring. Probably one of the best decisions Dana Brown has made for the Astros so far in his tenure as the Astros general manager has been to put Ronel Blanco as a starter, to convert him from the bullpen, to put him as a starter, and then to see the results and get him up to the major league team. So yeah, absolutely. We'll get more on the rotation in a second here. We'll kind of end up with a couple of ideas, a couple more topics here. We're going to get through the interview here. And then, the trade deadline is coming up, and the interviewer asked if he's, what type of team the Astros will be at the deadline, and Dana Brown, without blinking, said a buy-in team, maintain that the Astros would not be sellers at the deadline, even during the darkest days of the Astros season this year. So, of course, they're going to be a buying team. And I enjoyed that interview. You can go check it out on the MLB Network. Tell me what you think of it. But, yeah, with the rotation, with all those injuries, it is time to kind of look at what the Astros are going to do. I believe the Astros announced that the 5th starter is going to be Sean Dubin. I mean, at some point, it's hard to keep calling up pitchers when you don't have that many options. Dana Brown did sign Eric Lauer. I guess, Lauer is a veteran starting pitching arm. He is not going to be the option, I guess, this time. Maybe they're saving him for later in the season, maybe with Ronell pitching so much, and he has not had that much inning usage normally with the over reliance on Ronell. Maybe they want a veteran starter for later in the season for when people are tired and taxed. So for now, it looks like they're going with Sean Dubin as that fifth starter. But the Astros are kind of looking tight until more pitching comes back, until Justin Verlander is back, which, yeah, guys, it looks like Verlander is still out. He's not participating in baseball activities, which can mean there's going to be a slower path to recovery for Justin Verlander. He might need a minor league rehab as well if that's the case. It's tough. The Astros are dealing with so many injuries, and it looks like if Dubin isn't the guy, there might have to be another minor league starter looked into. And I mean, even JP France, you're hoping JP France could go down, make some adjustments, and come back up. JP France is dealing with an injury as well. There's just so many injuries with the Astros right now. And maybe there's some veteran minor league arm out there that the Astros will grab, but it does not sound like Dana Brown is looking for adding a starting pitcher. Now, this could be a ploy. This could be a thing where he's just, kind of playing it cool, not showing his poker hand, and he is going to trade for a starting pitcher at the trade deadline. I mean, I don't know who it could be. I haven't even started thinking about trades and who potential trade chips could be. We do not want to trade away too many prospects. However, we do have an overabundance of outfielders, so maybe one of these outfielders can provide some value. Who knows? Maybe even Trey Cabbage, the Cabbage Man, we can dangle out there. And someone wants some cabbage, we trade away a cabbage for some some decent arm. Maybe we put a cabbage package together. We don't know. But I do think that the Astros are going to need some more help if players do not come back from injury soon. And it's tough. There have been an overabundance of injuries this season. The Astros are not the only team to be feeling it. The Astros, I think, do have the most. I'm going to look it up here. There was something on Reddit earlier about let's see. There are currently 76 pitchers across 28 teams on Major League Injured List with elbow injuries alone. That's, no team has more elbow injuries than the Astros with 6. The Braves and Orioles have 5. The Dodgers have 3 elbow injuries. So, these injuries are really piling up. We're not the only team to feel them, but we are one of the teams with the most injuries. And I do think it's interesting. The teams on the top of the list, you have the Astros, then you have the Orioles, which is also run by Astros type minds, and the Braves, which has been a great team, and the Dodgers, which have been a great team. And all of these teams, I believe, really look at pitching breaks and spins. And I'm not saying that there's a correlation there. I think that's what all of baseball has done. But it's just a lot of those teams, that are winning teams too. So it's just, I'm not trying to say that there's some smoking gun or anything. It's just interesting. I don't know what it means. I'm a fan. I'm not trying to say that I know some conspiracy. Just crazy. But, it is funny because I was looking at the Dodgers in that Reddit post. It also, the Dodgers have starting IL rotation, and the Astros have a starting IL rotation too. So I guess I'm just asking fans here, who do you think would win a series with their starting IL rotation in 2024? The Astros or the Dodgers? Let's bring out the starters, folks. The Dodgers have Yamamoto, Kershaw, Buehler, Gonsolin, and May. That's a stout 5-man IL rotation coming out of Los Angeles. And out of Houston, the starting 5 IL rotation in 2024 right now currently is JV, Christian Javier, Garcia, McCullers, Andrew Urquidy. Oh, man. Who would win? That would be a lot of good pitching in that series if they are healthy, of course. We're not trying to have them pitch injured. That's not but I'm just saying, if you put them in a video game, those are some great pitchers. Who would win, folks? You let me know. And the last thing I wanted to talk about on today's podcast is just Astros plate discipline. Just really briefly, there's been a lot of talks about it lately, all over all over the interwebs, all over Reddit, all over all podcasts, and even Chandler Rome, had an article today after the Astros swept the Orioles. Chandler Rome, Mr. Sunshine himself, was talking about how the Astros have terrible plate discipline, and I do understand the the article itself isn't as heavy-handed as the headline is. I understand you need attention-grabbing headlines. I do understand too that the Astros need to be more patient at times, to see more pitches. When you see somebody like Jonathan Cannon, pitch a minimal amount of pitches to the Astros and almost get a complete game shutout, those are times where you're like, okay, this is over aggressive. We need to dial it back. We need to see the ball better and swing at balls that are in the zone and not just over aggressively swing at every pitch that we think is going to be my pitch. But when you look at the stats, and Chandler Rome himself said this in the article, when you look at the stats, average, slugging, OPS plus, hits, there's so many stats that the Astros lead the league or are tops in the league in, and it just doesn't seem like, the same team is having trouble with plate discipline. Their strikeout rate has gotten higher, and their walk rate has gotten lower. Trending from different seasons. However, they still have, I think, the highest amount of walks and the lowest amount of strikes in the league currently. So maybe that's just a way that the whole league is trending with, but at least with strikeouts and walk rates. But yeah, it seems crazy that the Astros, are also trending downwards with pitches per plate appearance. But another thing they mentioned, in Chandler Rome mentioned in the article, is that the 2022 Astros that won the World Series that year also had a league lowest pitches per plate appearance like the Astros do this season. So sometimes that aggressiveness that the Astros have is their key to success. But other times, the aggressiveness that the Astros have is what makes them fail completely and get shut out in a game by a pitcher that is a little unheralded. Big props, shout out to Jonathan Cannon, not trying to be mean there. He worked those innings. He pitched those innings. He earned that game. But the Astros sometimes, if it seems like if they don't know a pitcher very well and they're really getting tricked, they just get more aggressive to try to knock him out instead of get more patient. But we shall see. Something that I'm always saying, almost every series, my key to success is the Astros plate discipline, zeroing in on strikes. I think something that they do, and they do very well, they kind of, it's like a Jose Altuve approach, is at first couple strikes, they're okay with swinging at anything as long as they can hit it. But that third strike, with two strikes, you get really selective. You try not to swing at anything unless you can foul it off or you can do damage with it. And not everybody has the bat skills that Jose Altuve has. That's why some players like Jake Myers, Jake Myers is the opposite of Jose Altuve. He really struggles with two strikes. With zero strikes, Jake Myers has hit a lot of home runs this season, has put a lot of balls in play, but as his strikes mount up, he tends to seize up and have trouble getting hits. So I do think that the Astros going forward do need to focus on selectivity, but they have to maintain that aggressive nature. That is what makes the Astros the Astros. You have that aggressive nature in the lineup. You have players that kind of balance each other out. For every Jose Altuve, you have an Alex Bregman that's going to be a little more selective. But I do think that the Astros will figure it out. I do think that these numbers are no reason for alarm. Chandler Rome himself said that Astros in 2022 had the lowest pitches per plate appearance, and they still won the World Series. So while this is something to look at, it isn't the only stat to be concerned about or to stress on. And with that bit of optimism, we're going to go ahead and close out this podcast for today. Thank you so much, folks, for listening. The Space Cadet Sports Podcast can be found on my Substack. You can get every article, every meme, and every podcast and video podcast there at the Substack for free at spacecadetsports.substack.com. Go check that out and subscribe, please. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Wherever you are listening to this on, smash the like button. Definitely subscribe, like, review, share with other Houston Astros fans that are diehards and want some uplifting news every now and then. They need a goofy guy in their life. I can be that goofy podcast host. Let them know I exist. If you want to talk to me about any of these opinions, if you want me to, or please, I don't even, if you want to talk baseball, I guess I should say, you definitely reach out to me on social media at Paul Salazar Jr. Let me know what you think, or if you're just here for the cute dog pictures, you can find Carla on Instagram at good.dog.carla. Thanks so much for listening, folks. Keep your head up, son. And as always, vamos Astros.